All right, today guys, we are going to talk about how do I know where to put the decimal in the product when I'm multiplying decimals. The first problem that we're going to do is we're going to multiply 72 hundredths times 6 tenths. Now before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate, because by making a smart estimate, that's going to help us later on to help us know where to put the decimal in our product. So first, I know from our work last week that 72 hundredths is close to or about 7 tenths. And I also know that 6 tenths is close to 7 tenths also. So I can multiply those two together, and I know from our work last week that 7 times 7, or 7 tenths times 7 tenths, is 49 hundredths. So the answer we're going to be looking for, the product we're going to be looking for, is near or about 49 hundredths. Okay. So now I go to my standard algorithm. I multiply the standard way that we do, and I don't want you to worry about the decimals and where they are in the beginning. You can almost pretend like they're not there. So you start with your standard method. 6 times 2 is 12. Write my 2, carry my 1. 6 times 7 is 42. Add on the 1. 43. Now, the hard part comes in is to know where do I put my decimal in my product, because I do have to put one in there somewhere. I can't just leave it out. Well, what we do know is that when we multiply, when we did our place value multiplying, and we multiplied a tenth, and we multiplied it by a hundredth, we should have an answer that is in the thousandths. Just like when we multiplied a power of 10 times a power of 100, our answer would be 1,000. So we can apply that we've learned to multiplying decimals, and I know in this first one, 72 hundredths, I have what's similar, we could say is a hundredth, and I'm multiplying that by a tenth place value. So I have an answer that should be, I keep saying that, a product that should be in the thousandths, because we know that from all the learning we did with place values in Unit 1. So I know that if I put a decimal here, or if I put my decimal between any of these, it's not going to be in the right spot. So by putting my decimal right there, I have tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. So the product of 72 hundredths times 6 tenths is 432 thousandths. Let's try one more. I have a little different number this time. I have 2 and 34 hundredths multiplied by 1 and 2 tenths. Now before I do that, I'm going to make a smart estimate again, because I know that helps me to know where my answer or where my product is. So first, I'm going to guess and round my number 2 and 34 hundredths up to 2 and 5 tenths about. I like that number, it's convenient for me, and this number is really nice because it's really close to 1. So if I take, or 1.0 I should do, if I multiply 2 and 5 tenths times 1, my answer, my product, is going to be about 2 and 5 tenths. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Now I can move on to my standard algorithm. 2 times 4, 8. 3 times 2, 6. 2 times 2 is 4. I chose easy, convenient numbers just for this example. I have to put down my placeholder for this next value because I'm pretending there's not any decimals there anymore. So this 1 is not just a 1, it's a 10. Or it's a power of 10. So I have to have a placeholder there. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Now I kept my place values all lined up so I'd make my addition easier at the end. 8 plus 0 is 8. This hopefully is familiar to all of us. 6 plus 4 is 10. I carry my 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. Plus 3 is 8. And 2 plus nothing above it is 2. Now we get back to how do I know where to put my decimal in my product down here? Well, up here, I have decimals to the hundredths again, to the hundredths place value. Here in my second divisor, or my second multiplying number, I have a tenth. So I know from before in our prior learning that a tenth, or a 10 times a 100 is going to equal 1,000. Just as a tenth times a hundredth is going to equal a thousandth. So my product, I keep saying that, my product needs to have an answer that's in the thousandths. So I have thousandths, hundredths, tenths. So if I put my decimal there, I have 2 wholes, 8 tenths, 0 hundredths, and 8 thousandths. So my product would be 2 and 808 thousandths. And that matches, it's pretty close to our smart estimate. So we can say that we have a pretty good product. So remember, when you multiply today, to first do your smart estimate, and then when you're done, you go through your standard method, and at the end, make sure you consider how many and what place values you have from the two numbers you multiplied together to put into your product.